So, I'm white.
Congratulations?
And I live in a world where I benefit from white privilege. And if you're white, you benefit from white privilege as well.
Well, all right. Do tell. What in life am I guaranteed on the basis of my skin color? I am all ears.
But if you identify as a woman, you also live in a world where you're oppressed. And there's a strange dichotomy in being both oppressed and the oppressor.
Yeah, golly, it almost sounds like nonsense, doesn't it? But we've made a big jump there. To begin with, white meant privileged, but now white means oppressor. And being a woman means to be inherently oppressed by white people?
Okay, I know that's a little rough start there, but I feel like this slide might be a little disingenuous.
Whatever are you talking about? I am having loads of fun. But it sure doesn't seem like our speaker is. I guess that comes with the struggle between self-hatred over your skin and feeling empowered by your genitals.
But I think as humans, we spend an inordinate amount of time and energy trying to avoid discomfort in all of its forms. But discomfort has so much to teach us. It holds within it growth, understanding, adaptability, empathy, resilience. Discomfort is powerful.
So if your TEDx talk is awkward, or weirdly accusatory, or depressingly self-defeatist, then that's a good thing. Got it.
Take, for an example, an experience I had in a grocery store. I'm standing in line, waiting to check out. The cashier is like a young black woman, probably 16. The white woman in front of me has like a ton of produce, and the cashier is doing her best to remember all the produce codes, but she's new. It's taken a long time. The woman in front of me is getting impatient. You know how I know? She starts to do that like exaggerated sigh thing. You know, like...
I'm kinda doing that myself, waiting for you to get to your point.
And when that doesn't somehow magically make this young cashier move faster, she levels up and she starts like shifting her weight while she sighs. And I'm standing there thinking like, all right, lady, relax, she's new, but I don't say anything. Then the cashier holds up a vegetable and she asks, can you tell me what this is called? My heart drops because I know exactly what's going to happen. I'm in my head and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to intervene.
Because you assume the cashier cannot stand up for herself? So you are a white knight?
But I'm too slow and she starts. It's a leek. How do you not know what a leek is? Doesn't your mother feed you vegetables? And it's slow motion. My mouth opens and I have no idea what's going to come out. And just in that moment, she turns to me, and she says, can you believe this? She doesn't know what a leek is.
Oh my God, what did you say? What did you say? I am on the edge of my seat.
I look around trying to figure out who the hell she's talking to, because it can't be me.
It can't be you, even though she was looking right at you. Even though you were poised to intervene anyway. Got it.
And I realize in that moment that she sees me, a similarly aged white woman buying produce in a grocery store, and she sees an ally. And I'm pissed.
Ah, so you are a mind reader. Not only do you know what her goal was, but you know why she chose you. Because of your age and your race. Not because you just happen to be the closest person at hand who might be sharing her frustrations while waiting in the same line. Got it.
And I have no idea what I'm going to say, but the best I can come up with in the moment is, what is up with your feminism? You are being such a shitty human right now, and you're ruining leaks for everyone.
That is what you said. I totally believe you.
Admittedly, not my best work.
Uh-huh.
But that moment happened over 20 years ago, and I remember it like it was yesterday because
you can't let anything go?
Because it was such a transformative moment for me, and it changed everything I thought I knew about feminism and allyship. Unlearning the problematic thinking that we've been taught as a result of living both with white privilege and without gender equality is, I would argue, the single biggest contribution that we can make to the resistance.
Ooh, the resistance! The resistance against, what? Also, you still need to tell us what privileges come with being white and what oppressions you are facing as a woman. Examples, please.
We all carry around things that we need to unlearn as a result of our upbringing.
Our upbringing. So, we are all collectively raised the same way. Is that what I am to understand?
The blinders have to come off, and it's gonna suck at first. At first, all you can see is everything that's wrong and all the injustice and everything you were taught not to see. And suddenly the racist and classist undertones of an impatient woman in a grocery store are blindingly visible. It's a painful process, but the only way to change it is to see it and see how we fit into it.
Yes. Until you accept the righteous revelation into your heart, the evils of the world will be invisible to you. Only through the lens of correct thinking will you see what all others are blind to. Got it.
If you look at the history of women's liberation movements in the US, you're gonna see a long history of white supremacy. White women have not just excluded women of color and queer women from liberation movements, they have actively worked to oppress them in their quest for straight white liberation and access, from the suffrage movement to the civil rights movement.
So, all straight white women are racist oppressors. Got it.
It's natural to feel passionately about confronting your own oppression because it's comfortable. You see it, you live it, you experience it. You're an authority on your lived experience. But it's deeply uncomfortable to confront our role as oppressors or the beneficiaries of oppressive systems.
Yes. So, tell us again, what are the inherent benefits of being white? What are the inherent oppressions in being a woman? And I don't mean historically. I mean right now. What evils are you contributing to or suffering from right now?
Side note, I would argue this is why so many men have trouble calling themselves feminists.
Or maybe it's because third-wave feminism actively rejects and vilifies men as oppressors and treats men who try to join the cause as faulty sycophants who will just never understand. Maybe.
Things are great in the white feminist world when we're talking about our shared oppression as women, but things tend to go south when other oppressions are brought up. And that, my friends, is white feminist thinking, and it's problematic.
White feminists are bad.
I'm white.
Right. Got it.
52% of white women voted for Trump. the man who prior to the election bragged about sexually assaulting women. 52% of white women voted for a sexual predator over a wildly qualified woman. That is some uncomfortable shit right there. The patriarchy has trained us well.
Ah, the patriarchy. So, those 52% of white women were brainwashed by the patriarchy and voted the most unfeminist man ever into the White House. And that means the other 48% of white women are real feminists. Real white feminists.
And that, my friends, is white feminist thinking, and it's problematic.
Well, golly, I guess no matter what white women do, they are inherently doing it wrong. Got it.
After the election, I went to the Women's March in Chicago, and my hope was restored. Right? That was a good one. Thank you.
I'll admit, that is pretty clever. But, isn't that glorifying violence?
I was inspired. I was heartened to see a tidal wave of resistance by women. And then the rise of Me Too, and I thought, oh my God, this is it, the fall of the patriarchy. I believe that this is our moment, that this is the moment when feminism will triumph, but it has to look and feel different than it has in the past, and that requires that white feminists get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Okay, I know I'm probably not going to get an answer to this, but what does triumph for third wave feminism look like? What are the tangible results of a defeated patriarchy, as our speaker sees it? Because to this point, I have never been quite clear on what specifically success looks like for third wave feminism.
So where do we start? Clearly, I think the first step is just embracing discomfort as both an indicator and a tool. So if you start to have feelings of being challenged or angry, shame, guilt, stop. Listen to your body and try to identify where those feelings are coming from and get curious about them, but don't judge them.
So, wallow in your own self-pity and guilt over being a white woman and ask yourself where that self-pity and guilt comes from. Well, could the source be people like our speaker, standing on a stage and preaching that white female feminists all suffer from the stain of original sin, and that the only penance is to, get used to feeling miserable about yourself? Could that be it?
And as you start to figure out what's triggering you, dive deep into those topic areas. Read, take a class, work with other feminists who live comfortably in those topic areas, and ask questions.
Go educate yourself on why you should continue to languish in your own misery. Got it.
Make it a point to consider how women with different backgrounds might experience an issue differently than you.
So, wait a second. Are you telling us to assume the lived experiences of others? Because, I have been told that that is a bad thing to do.
For example, equal pay. We always seem to point to the statistic that women make 80 cents to every dollar a man makes.
The wage gap is simply the average earnings of men and women working full-time. It does not count for different job positions, hours worked, or different jobs. It has nothing to do with the same job. It has nothing to do with discrimination.
But what's missing from that statistic is the word white. White women make 80 cents to every dollar a white man makes. Black women, for instance, make 60 cents to every dollar a white man makes.
Yes. White women are both the oppressed and the oppressor at the same time because of their collective work ethic. Got it.
Next up, pay particular attention to your airtime. The patriarchy teaches us that we shouldn't take up space.
The patriarchy teaches us that we shouldn't take up space. Oh, so are you talking about, fat shaming?
So naturally, challenging that looks like taking up space, leading, challenging, voicing our opinions.
Which women are entirely not allowed to do, of course.
Of course! Of course!
I mean, it's not like Hillary got the popular vote in 2016, or that more women than ever have been elected to Congress, or that our speaker is standing on an open stage, freely speaking her mind without restraint, which is then available on YouTube for the entire world to see. Yes, women have no ability to take up space. The patriarchy tells us so.
But white supremacy teaches us that white opinions are the most valid and the ones that should be heard. And so we're back to that oppressor dichotomy again.
Which means that our speaker is a walking contradiction of untrustworthiness and evil. It is a wonder that she thought she had any right to be the one speaking about these issues.
I'm going to assume that every woman in this room has been mansplained at some point in their life.
Well, even if not, they are certainly being white-splained to right now.
I'm white. So you know the experience of having your voice silenced or your perspective invalidated, your ideas reappropriated. Just apply that same awareness to feminist spaces. Akin to that is showing up. Do you only show up in spaces created for white women?
Well, you showed up at the Women's March, which, I have been told, was overly infested with too many white women. So, maybe you're guilty of that?
Have you been to a Black Lives Matter march? Pride parade? Called a legislator about immigration policy? I hear a lot of white women say that they're uncomfortable showing up in spaces not created for white women because they're uncomfortable, they don't feel welcome, they're not sure how to be an ally in those moments.
Well, you've just spent the last 10 minutes telling us that white female feminists are racist oppressors. So, why shouldn't they think they don't belong at such events? They are the source of the problem, aren't they?
But the good news is, the more that you work to unlearn problematic thinking and get informed, the more you're going to want to show up in spaces you've never shown up in before. The easier it will be to know when to move forward and to move back, and the more comfortable you're going to feel as a visible and present ally.
But you'll always be a white woman. I mean, whether you are thinking correctly or not cannot be seen by other people. All they can tell about you, all they really need to know about you, is that you are a white woman. And that fact alone is enough to tell them the content of your character. Or have I misunderstood everything you have been telling us thus far?
Lastly, let's talk about intervening. It can be uncomfortable, if not downright scary, to intervene in moments where you see problematic or threatening language or behavior. It requires bravery, but bravery requires preparation and practice.
Ooh, okay then. How can I train myself to be brave?
Now, when I left that grocery store, I spent weeks thinking about how I wish I had handled it differently so that I could have been a better ally to that cashier, or educated versus shamed that woman in front of me, an approach that didn't involve screaming about leaks.
something you say happened 20 years ago and have been feeling bad about ever since. I just wanted to make sure I understand the depths of your self-loathing.
A friend of mine said, "Why don't you write down all the ways you wish you had handled it?" So I did. Then I started practicing it. And the next time I was in a situation where I needed to be an active bystander, I handled it way more effectively. I had more confidence, and I was able to come at the situation differently because I had prepared and practiced.
So, you created a playbook of canned responses to situations where you need to affirm your goodness and right thinking in order to spurn the oppressor and defend the downtrodden. Huh. It, almost sounds like scripture.
So as we all start to unlearn our problematic thinking and embrace our discomfort, we're going to uncover limitless ways to work towards a just society. This is a time of discomfort. You need to just dive in. You're not going to do it right. It's not always going to be graceful. You're going to take shit for it. But the faster and the more important part is that we're embracing our discomfort and we're challenging it head on. Because you're either working towards a just society or you're benefiting from an unjust one.
Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
Thank you.
Well, boy howdy, do I ever feel educated. White people are bad. Women are oppressed. White women are both bad and oppressed. White women who voted for Trump are totes bad. White women feminists are also totes bad. White women need to feel perpetually ashamed, uncomfortable, and out of place wherever they go and in whatever they do as they try and assess just how much better they have it than anyone with a different skin color than they have, because people with different skin colors are obviously at a disadvantage, and so they need white women to intervene on their behalf because, obviously, anyone without white skin is unable to stand up for themselves. Oh, and also, leaks.
How do you not know what a leak is?
But in all seriousness, I think we need to be very, very wary of what our speaker is saying here. I think we need to hold it in the highest of suspicions. Because, after all, she is white.
I'm white.
As always, thank you for watching.